Man, you want to talk about a subject that will bog you down. I mean, take something that I consider to be relatively easy, like planting a garden, and just overcomplicating it can just be ridiculous. Well, good morning, everybody. I hope you're having a fantastic day. As we like to say, spring, she gone. It is going to be 90 degrees today, but something's been weighing heavy on my mind, and that's companion planting. And I'm just going to show you how I companion plant and see if it'll help you guys at all. But first, we are combining our chickens, our new chickens, with our old chickens. So I just need to go check on them real quick to make sure that nobody's getting beat up. So I had to do a little bit of psychological warfare, and I pulled down some peas and threw them down so the older chickens would focus on that and the younger chickens could kind of get used to it. But they are just chilling up on their roosting bars, so I think everything's going well. Definitely had to put a couple in chicken jail. So we had two last night that were kind of pecking at them pretty hard, which is, you know, they're going through the natural order, who's in charge. And we had to put them in chicken jail, which is the shed. So we had to put them in a dog crate in the shed just to kind of keep the older chickens separated so they could relax. But yeah, everything's going well on that front. And as far as the garden goes and companion planting, the reason why I wanted to talk about it today is because, man, you want to talk about a subject that will bog you down. I mean, take something that I consider to be relatively easy, like planting a garden, and just overcomplicating it can just be ridiculous. So I'm going to walk over here to the wild garden and just show you how we've companion and planted a little bit, and then I'll give you my thoughts on the rest of it, and hopefully you can use it to your advantage. So this bed right here, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, no, it's not the only one, but is one of the only ones that I've companion planted. And I do routinely put peppers in with tomatoes. Now, I read about it years ago. I did it one year and my tomatoes were great, my peppers were great. So for me, it was valid. We do it every year. Now we don't solely do that. We will definitely we have like this bed behind me here, which is basically mostly peppers and some eggplants and okra and watermelons in front. So they're not all companions by any stretch of the imagination, but they don't really fight each other from what I understand. And it's just a lot easier to do that. I mean, it's like, it can get overly complicated, especially when you have, 9 garden beds, trying to figure out how to precisely plant it. You take notes and you're reading and all that crap. It's just ridiculous. Now this bed back here, we also have companion planted. So this is our squash bed, and then we have cucumbers in the back. And if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but I believe they're companions. Not really overly concerned about it because I just kind of don't care. These kale plants right here, they're going to be coming up very soon, so we're not even worried about those. They don't even matter. But for the longevity of the season, we'll kind of use this template for this one, see how it goes. I mean, you can get into like companion planting, faux planting, and all that stuff. And I did read at one point, so if you're new to the channel, I grow a lot of ground cherries. That's like one of our favorites. And over the past couple of years, our goal has been able to make ground cherry, or what I call husk tomatoes. So from here forth, I'll be talking about it like that. Husk tomato jelly. It's a tomato, comes in a husk, pick it up off the ground, tastes like pineapple. And so we wanted to grow that, and I thought, well, it's a tomato, it's a nightshade, right? Of course it is. Well, it turns out that it is not. Or maybe it is, whatever it is, it's a faux against tomatoes. So one year I used this bed, and in the back row, I planted orange banana tomatoes, and then I put a row of peppers, and then I put husk tomatoes in the front. And the husk tomatoes were huge. Never had a bigger husk tomato plant in my whole life, but they were supposed to be faux. Had a huge harvest. The only reason why we didn't make jelly is because they got so big, they cracked in half and fell over. So, I mean, it's like, what's the point in following all of this? And it just overly complicated. It's ridiculous. And that's why you see some of our beds are basically monocropped. We've got our onion and garlic here. If it was up to me, I would have just done all onions, but I didn't. This one's all potatoes. And then for those of you who are returning, I actually did a thing the other day. This is all the sweet potatoes. So all the sweet potatoes are just in one bed, and this has worked out really good for us. Now we do have these peas up here, which I'm actually going to be ripping down. They aren't really friends or foes from what I understand. Over the years, I've just gotten so exhausted with it. And if you look at it, it's like you can grow tomatoes and lettuce in the same bed. They're companions. I don't ever have either one of those in the garden at the same time. When my tomatoes go in, my lettuce is bolting. So it doesn't even matter if that's the case. And you walk around the rest of the garden and it's just like, it doesn't really matter. It's just, you know, I try to plant by family, generally speaking. You know, in this bed here, we've got a row of ground cherries. And then we have our carrots right here. But the carrots aren't gonna be in for long. They're almost done. As a matter of fact, let's check and see, because I do see some thick stalks. So let's pull this in. See, this one's going to bolt. So just go ahead and pull that up. But yeah, that's about a Scarlet Nana's carrot size right there. So that means that they are going down the line, they're starting to get ready to harvest. So they're not even gonna be in the ground for long. I did a video last year, the year before, something like that, about tomatoes and peppers being companion plants. And I'll link to that at the end of this video so you can check it out. And I mean, that's really been my main staple. Now I try to plant them close together, but I don't really focus like, okay, here's my tomato, here's my pepper, here's my blah. You know, here's my corn, here's my squash, and here's my green beans. You know, the three sister planting, like I don't focus on that because it's way too much to focus on. And it makes it so it's hard and confusing, and then you don't really know what you're doing, and it's more important to get something in the ground and grow it. And if you don't know what you want to grow, then just kind of work your way down the list. And you know, the sweet potatoes, I always knew that these sweet potatoes were going to take up a lot of room, so I've always just planted them together. And that's why in the future, I'm thinking about monocropping each bed. I put a poll up recently about like how do you know, plant your gardens, and monocropping was one of them. And there were some people that did that, and I like that option because as of right now, we've got a corn bed, 2 potato beds. We'll just, for simplicity's sake, call this an onion bed, just because there's one row of garlic up front, but an onion bed, a mostly squash bed. So, you know, we've started moving into that direction. We may not stay that way, but I think it's worth giving it a shot because when in doubt, just go straight up. You know what I mean? Eliminate all of the different efforts. I do want to come over here and check. I just mentioned my corn. I do want to check on the corn bed and show you what's going on there. And I didn't say cornbread this time, even though I would love some cornbread. So we've had a hell of a time with this bed. You can see we do have a couple corns that are coming up, but we've had to come back and replant the skips. So we've got a couple in here that are coming back up. It's been kind of a headache, to be honest. This is the first year that I've done a full corn bed, so I really want to try and get it as full as possible. And the ones that we just planted the other day, they should catch up to, you know, these right here, even though I'm in the shadow. But like that one right there is getting fairly big, but they should catch up with a little bit of feeding. It shouldn't be a big deal, and they actually do look like they need to be fed. By doing the monocrop, I don't have to worry about what's going to get shaded. I don't have to worry about what's going to attack it, what it's going to benefit or anything, because a lot of these companion plants are just about like, okay, well, this one doesn't shade this one. Okay, this one attracts beneficial insects. Okay, there's other ways to do that. You know, plant flowers around, rotate your crops. I think more importantly is what we plant after we plant something. So in particular, like for our area, we get nematodes, root knot nematodes, and planting mustard behind your tomatoes will help combat those root knot nematodes. So, you know, just doing that can help more than interplanting in between, because if you look at it, a lot of stuff can't be planted together. I mean, look at the greenhouse. Everything's doing fine. We're not really worried about companion planting it at all. I specifically looked at it for in here because it was such a small space, and the ground cherries and the okra are not companions at all. They're not foes, they're just plants that can be planted together. And to me, plants that can be planted together are more important than plants that can fight this, that, and the other, or cause this, that, and the other. Like, plants are plants. Don't overcomplicate it and enjoy gardening. And if you feel like it's being overly complicated, then slow down and don't make it complicated, because we're just here to grow food, right? That's all there is to it.
Goodbye.